Not yet. Yep.
Call the order of the meeting, the Recreation Committee meeting, May 13th, 2021, 5:30 PM. Call the order, roll call of commissioners. Joel here,
Present.
Aaron here,
I'm here.
and Thomas here. We have two commissioners that's out. That is,
Councilman Turner and
Travis Turner is not here, and
Dow.
Dow Waggispack. Let the record speak for it. At this time, we'll have invocation and pledge by Joel.
Everybody please stand. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. God, thank you for another beautiful day. I know those are hard to come by in Ascension Parish in Louisiana. I appreciate you giving us time to let this water drain and let our community have some time to resettle for the next. Help keep us all safe. Help us do the Lord's business tonight. The Recreation Committee, help guide us through the meeting and on our way home.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have the public comment period. Is anyone wishing to talk on any item? You can sign up with Ms. Stompley. You have anybody? Okay, at this time, we have the director's report, Mr. Michael King.
Good night, or good evening, everybody. All right, here we go. PowerPoint up. Got a PowerPoint up for you. I'm going to get in trouble for not hitting my microphone. My bad, y'all. All right. So we've already gone over some of that. So director's report for tonight, I'm just going to go over just a few things. A little update on the skate park, the dog park, West Ascension baseball, and then some planning and projects we got going on. So first off, for the Ascension Parish Skate Park at Oak Grove, we had our grand opening and ribbon cutting on May the 1st. Definitely wanted to give a special thanks to Brandon Bennett. He's a real active member of our community. He's a skater and wanted to share that with his kids, so he was really active in helping us get that going. So we really want to give a big thanks to him for all the help. And he gathered most of the guys that were out there that day, and he was amazing, and so was the group. So want to thank him. And then Daniel and Clay, they were our musicians, all about fun, had a bounce house, anything posed photo, had the photo booth, Minco LLC, they were our contractors, and then they also did the crawfish for us. And then, of course, Ruckus, the skate shop, they had some things going on out there, and we're looking forward to working with them again in the future as well. And the Prairieville Dog Park, we broke ground on May the 4th, and since then, they've got the dirt work complete, and they have started on the concrete. Councilman Lawler, do you have any other updates? I know you've been working with Leadership Ascension on that. I didn't get a chance to go out there today to see if anything else had been done. But
yeah, the concrete's been done. That's the last that I've seen that's been done. The rain has obviously slowed
Right.
things down. I will use this as an opportunity to let people know that if they want to donate, they still can. They can go to the Leadership Ascension website and make a donation, which would be greatly appreciated.
awesome, thank you. Yeah, Leadership Ascension and the Prairie Dogs organization have been really, really amazing and super helpful. So we definitely thank them for their leadership and support. West Ascension baseball. So we wrapped up basketball. We talked about it a little bit in the last meeting, and now we've got baseball going on the West Bank. And I'm really excited about the fact that we already have 78 4 to 6 year olds signed up, and this is something that just doesn't happen very often over there. So Ms. Tomplay, is this our first time doing baseball in quite some time?
Quite some time.
Yeah, okay. So the fact that we can get 78 out there right off the edge of basketball is pretty awesome. And then we have little over 40 for our 7 to 9-year-olds, and we're actually still registering all the age groups above 10. So again, really excited that we're going to be having some good basketball competition or baseball coming up very soon in West Ascension. Okay, and this is just to kind of give y'all an update on some of the planning and projects that we're doing. A lot of it is basically just so I can hold myself accountable, tell y'all some of the things that we're working on. So I'll be sure to do some of these things coming up soon. So in our grounds maintenance division, we're working on a routine maintenance plan, just making sure that we're getting everything scheduled out so that we can take care of everything in a timely manner, and that it becomes routine, that we're taking care of it without having to, or we're staying proactive, I guess. We're also working on a pipe rail project. So basically looking to remove and replace damaged pipe rail as well as repairing what we can, and then adding to a lot of new places. So in the last ordinance that was, or the update to the park rules, there was something in there about preventing vehicles in unauthorized area. This will help back that up. So putting something in place so folks aren't driving four-wheelers, trucks out into the park. We can keep them off the walking track at both Duplessis and at Lamar Dixon, and then repairing particularly the one in Lemonville Park. It needs some work too. So we're working on getting all those together. And then what goes along with that would be parking. If we're going to prevent people from driving all over into the parks, we need to make sure that there are adequate places for folks to park, and that leaves the park easily accessible. So that's another thing that we're going to be working on. And then our restrooms, working to get them cleaned up, repaired, and then also assessing where we need more. So that is some of the things that we're working on there. Another thing that's kind of come up and that you should be looking for at the next meeting are some verbiage on park permits. It's not something we currently have, but we're getting a lot of these little pop-up shops kind of coming in, special events, fitness, personal trainers kind of coming in on park property, and we're trying to look for a way to deal with that. And just so that y'all know, it's pretty common for a park system to have a permitting system for people to come out and do that. We do not currently. It's basically just, you're not allowed at this point, but we would like to be able to permit some of those. And then it's also fairly common to either have a fee to go along with that or get a percentage of what revenue they're bringing in off of that as well. So that's kind of what I'm looking into for that. But expect something with that, as well as the program fee schedule to come next month. Basically looking at all the fees we've got going for any programs that we're looking at, and kind of making a range for a group of programming so that I'm not having to come back every month, every time I'm wanting to do a new program. We go ahead and approve that and get it added to an ordinance. We're also looking at updating job descriptions, just because they're super vague and basic, and a lot of people don't know the difference between they're coming in to work on a ball field versus going and being a welder somewhere else in the parish. So that's something that we're looking to update as well. And another thing are the missions, goals, and performance measures and system planning. I'm not going to go too much into that. I know we're going to talk about both of those things coming up a little bit later. So just kind of move on to the next item. And that concludes my report. Sorry.
All right, thank you, Mr. King. Let the record reflect that Mr. Dahl Wagersprack has showed up, Ms. Tomplay. And just a minute, have Mr. Lola wants to speak.
I just want to add one thing on the skate park, and Mr. King, it was before your time, so I wouldn't expect you to have known about this. Scheck Snyder Restoration played a big role in moving the skate park from the old location to the new location. They did so at a fantastically reduced price to the parish. And that was well before your time, so I wouldn't expect you to know that. You're talking about the guys that participated in that grand opening, which was a blast. I had a great time there, but I want to mention them. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lola. Also, in your report, Mr. King, I'd like to just collaborate on the number of kids that we had, and as you indicated to Ms. Tomplay, that it has been such a long time that we hadn't had that many kids, and that is also correct. We hadn't had that many kids. It's been a long time since we've had those lights that's going to be cut on throughout the summer and throughout the upcoming couple of weeks. It's been exciting to see the parents and the kids come out and participate in bringing the kids out to come out and participate in the program. Things has been going real good, and we hope to continue to build off what we have and what we're trying to do and trying to install. Starting to look as though it's building a foundation of getting things back to where they used to be in the ballpark for sure. So with that said, I'm very excited, and again, I want to thank Mr. Butler for doing such a great job, and also Ms. Michelle for being the leading guide in taking charge and getting things going. So, and it's been exciting, taking her lead and moving forward, and it's looking great. I tell you, it's exciting. A lot of people within the city, on the West Bank, they're very excited also to see so many kids out playing baseball. So hopefully we can turn that into something else once they finish baseball. And we just want to thank everybody that's participating, everybody that's helping. And I see your hand there, Mr. Joe Robert. I see his hand. You can speak.
Oh, me?
I had my eyes on the side of my head.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on what you were talking about on West Ascension, on the other side of the river with the baseball. And like you said, seeing those types of numbers, 78 or something, it shows a lot. I mean, one, it wasn't there before, so obviously they weren't, but I mean, as opposed to this side in the population, that's high enrollment, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. And I mean, that's great. And I think another thing that does put a big spotlight on is the need and the want on that side for recreation. Soccer fields, any soccer leagues, anything like that, have we looked at over there on the West Bank?
Yeah, we've looked at a lot of other programming. We're trying to go kind of one at a time to keep them engaged so that we're not competing with different sports within themselves. So we're doing baseball right now. We're looking at our options for the summer and fall. And then some of that does include, I was out at South Louisiana Fairgrounds yesterday, looking at some open space out there and possibly what we could maybe use as multi-use fields, flag football fields, soccer fields, things like that, to bring more different types of programming out that way.
Absolutely. And I mean, ideally, something year-round.
Yes,
A
definitely.
sport where we have activities and outlet for the kids to learn positive,
Yeah.
Secondly, the permits on the parks. I think that's a great idea. Breck has been doing this for a while. I know I've gone to a birthday party for my godchild on Highland Road in Breck, and it was like a decent little fee or rent. And then they had outside, they also had people inside, and then on top of that, it was like a waiting list to even get on there. So there's a need, and why not capitalize off of it and use the money to put back into our parks and, give more to offer. So I think we should really look hard into that, and even into the extent of weddings and whatnot, not saying that anybody really wants to get married at the baseball field, but hey, who knows? Yeah. You never know. But keep up the good work. And like I said, I'd like to see some more effort and well, there's obviously effort, the continued effort in bringing more sports to the other side, more activities.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Robert. Also, let's reflect the record that Mr. Travis Turner has arrived. And also in commenting on Mr. Robert's situation for us getting the more recreation and listening at Mr. King, we're going to take it one step at a time. We have already talked about Ms. Michelle has talked about the plan for taking things one step at a time, that Joel, in getting the different sports engaged, and wanting to do it, but we do have a long-range plan of getting a lot of stuff on the West Bank throughout the summer and throughout the year that we will have of playing sports throughout the course of the year. We have some things that we do have, and we have been talking about it. Also, I wanted to just remind Ms. Michelle, I had mentioned it to you about the status on the painting of the buildings, putting the AC in the building, also the logos on the West Ascension logos, the logos on the ballpark and in the park. Also, we also talked about the snowball machine that we need to try and get. So things are moving good. It's moving fast, but it's good. Every step is looking in the right direction. So with that said, we'll move on to number 5. Anyone had anything else?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Number 5, we have youth, like I said, Highway 621 Fitness Court Grant, Mr. Michael King.
All right, yeah, so this is with the National Fitness Campaign, Healthy City. It's a grant opportunity for a fitness court that you'll see on the PowerPoint here. Basically, it's an amenity that you would put in your park, and it has 7 different zones of where you would kind of work out. And so it's all in one fitness opportunity. And so you'll have a place where you can do core, squats, push, lunge, pull, agility, and bend. And so you'd kind of go through all that. And so I can talk a little bit more about that as well as the grant. So what you see in the picture here, this is a heat map of activity actually at Duplessis Park. So that really bright section right there is how much activity is happening on the walking trail. And I was pretty impressed to see how much use that gets. Anytime I go out there, there's always somebody working out, exercising, walking the path. And so I thought it was pretty cool that that it is getting a lot of work here, a lot of use. And so this grant is basically the way it works, when I apply for it, we've already been pre-approved to apply. We get $30,000 towards the fitness court, along with some technical assistance, ambassador training, and then some help with recruiting sponsors and partners to go along with this. And then they will train whoever it is that we're working with. Say it's a health organization, they could train their staff to provide training at this amenity, and now it's a programmable site. And so we can run fitness classes and things like that off of it. In your off time, there's an app that goes with it if you wanted to go out by yourself and do it. So there are a lot of things that we could use this for. And so then the way that it breaks down, the total project is $130,000. They give $30,000 towards it, drops it down to $100,000, and then they just ask that as an agency, we're willing to commit to $50,000 of that, which then can also include some of the in-kind work. So pouring the slab for the concrete, putting this together in-house, that kind of thing, all goes towards that $50,000. So let's say it only cost us $30,000 to $40,000, then the rest of that would come from the whoever we sponsor and partner with that have been yet to be identified. I do have some ideas for a project like this of places I could work with. So that's kind of how that goes. There's no obligation if we're approved for us to go through with this. If for some reason it worked out where we weren't able to get any sponsors or anything, we would not have to pay $130,000 to do this ourselves. So it's not something like that.
Motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the CEA. I do have a question after that.
Have
I'll
motion
make a
by,
second, and I also have a question.
motion by Mr. Lawler and
Second.
second by Mr. Joe Robert. Any discussion?
Yeah, Aaron has something, and I have something after him.
Any discussion,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
It's not as much on topic, oddly enough, but how did y'all make that map? I'm sorry, but
That
I've
was
never seen
actu-
a map like that. It's pretty
That was
amazing.
actually working with the National Fitness Campaign. It was something they provided for us. We looked at several different sites of where we might be able to do it, and they provided us with that data. I forget exactly where they pulled it from, but they just look at aerials and how much activity is going on, and that's how they pulled that. I'm interested in doing that myself at several places.
It's pretty cool. It's kind
Yeah.
of freaky that there are helicopters, black helicopters flying over
I
us.
mean, there's that.
You don't know, but it was really cool. It's a great idea. I'm glad we're moving forward with it.
Great.
Go ahead.
Mr. Robert?
As far as the in-kind donations, I think that's a great opportunity for the parish to put a lot of work into there and take a lot of that off, hopefully a little bit more than 20 or so
Yes.
thousand. And then, is there a limit? Not really a limit, but what would stop us from applying for these in all other areas and communities that may have the corporate or the sponsorship there to match?
I don't know. I would have to ask and see how that would be. I mean, we can purchase as many as we want. I just don't know how many grants they'd be willing to give the same agency.
Yeah.
I have not looked into that. I will say that there is one that got installed, Prevost Hospital in Donaldsonville.
Right.
Did one last year. They haven't had their big opening or anything yet. COVID delayed it. So there will be one on the east and west, and I would love to talk to them about being able to program that similarly to what we're talking about on the east side as well.
Okay, and appreciate it, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No other discussion? Any objection? No objection? Motion passed. Next, we have the number 6, approval of the CEA with Ascension Parish Library for construction.
So
of
moved.
Slash, okay, Dutchtown Library site. Motion
Second.
by Mr. Lawler and second by Mr. Darrell Waggers-Pack. Any discussion? No discussion, objection? No objection, motion passed. Okay, moving right along. Number 7, Ascension Catholic Resolution, Mr. Michael King.
Okay, yeah. Turn my mic off again. So this one is something that we have done with Ascension Catholic before. I apologize, y'all just got this late in your packet. But it is the Ascension Catholic School Alumni Association.
Yes.
And it's to grant them one-time exception to sell alcohol at the South Louisiana
Motion.
Fairground parking lot during their Alumni Association softball tournament, May 28th, 29th, and 30th.
Motion by Mr. Robert, second by Mr. Lawler. Any discussion? Any objection? No objection, motion passed. Number 8, the RFQ for parish-wide master recreation plan, including but not limited to short-term plan for all parks, facilities, ADA, planning for all parks, facilities, and 15-year plan for all parks, facilities, and need projection. Mr. Aaron Lawler, Councilman Lawler.
Thank you, Coach. I asked for this to be put on the agenda, and I have spoken with Mr. King about it, Mr. Compton about it. In fact, Mr. Compton sent us a very interesting email. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, with some mapping, GIS mapping that he's done regarding park usage and availability and how the parks in the parish are available and who they're available to, basically, per distance. But what I'd like to, the reason for this RFQ is to allow the parish the opportunity, Mr. King and Mr. Compton, that if they need assistance, and I believe they will, to make a long-term and a short-term master plan, that they have the ability to go out and hire somebody that specializes in recreation planning, park planning, and that sort of thing. I'm fully aware that we can do a lot of this work in-house. My biggest concern, though, is time. We've had, for years, we've needed to have an overall plan for our parks, to know where we're going. Also, kind of what Ricky said in his email, is to know where we've been. But very importantly, if we know where we're going and we have a plan for our parks, that will give us the opportunity to reach out to donors, as Mr. Robert said, to reach out to donors and corporations to increase funding without using tax dollars. And many times a company, I mean, we have many great companies located in this parish, is not going to be willing to donate money or man-hours if we don't have a plan in place. So I look at this as an investment in the future And it's going to cost us some dollars potentially, but what it will do is, I think it's going to be a return on the investment. It's going to allow these other companies and the people in our parish to donate time and money and equipment to our parks. That's basically why I've asked to give the authority to the department to go out for an RFQ. And they can also, certainly look at the scope, see how much of it they need, how much of it they don't need. Once again, my biggest concern is time, though. We have had years where we haven't had this. People are clamoring for parks, and we're about to get some serious money in from the sewer deal. And I know in utilities, we're going to be discussing taking and I'm 100% for this, is taking the franchise fees and putting that directly towards recreation. I want to have a plan for that. I want the public to know that we're going to use that money in an efficient manner and that we can use that money to get matching funds. And you can't do that without a plan. In fact, I know Coach and I have talked about, on the west side, and this is going to include the west side. On the west side, we've got some fields over there that really need work, and that area is really ripe for going after grants. But we need a plan to go after and get those grants. So I'm asking for support. Thank you. I'm asking for support for this, to give authority to the RFQ.
Okay, in you saying that, and there was a motion by Mr. Robert and a second by Mr. Lawler, and Mr. Wagerspack. And I want to make sure that whatever was ever in the package, that we be able to allow the administration, allow the Parks Director, Mr. King, if we can do some of the work ourselves, allow us to be able to do some of the work that we can do, other than going out, allowing someone else to do it. If we can do it, allow us to be able to do it. And I know I'm listening to Aaron saying time-wise, we want to move forward with it. But again, if most of your stuff that we have here that's in the plan, if the parish can do it in-house, then allow us to go in and get it done. Mr. Turner.
Now, don't we have some plans that have already been completed by the parish?
I've been told there are several master plans that were created in years past. I was unable to locate them, and I don't know. I found one from probably early 90s, but I'm not sure about any since then. I know they've been done, but obviously they're not being used.
That early 90s, I'm sure is outdated.
Yeah, just a little bit. If you don't mind, real quick, just going along that, I definitely want to have a plan. I want us to be prepared going forward. So I absolutely agree with that. And so I think what we just kind of need to decide is how much, I guess, kind of what our next steps are, what we want this scope to be. And so I guess if it's an authorization to issue, that we can then decide that and go from there. Because there, like Councilman Thomas said, there is quite a bit that we can do in-house. And I'd like to reserve as much funding for the actual projects as possible that are going to come out of this, so that we know when we go to somebody, like you were discussing, with a proposal, it's going to cost this much money. And then on our end, we've looked at our GIS mapping of where we need this. We've talked to the public and gotten a better idea of where we need to put this. And so I can show you real quick, just to refer, or what Councilman Thomas was referring to. Okay, so it's probably difficult to see, but these are those maps talking about the coverages. So the little blue spots are basically what we've labeled as neighborhood parks. These are ones that are exactly what it sounds like. It's in your neighborhood. It's going to be more of just a playground and maybe a little bit of pavilion, something like that, versus the pink, which is a community park. And that's a 3-mile radius, because you're a little bit more likely to travel a little further to that. And then on the right side, you'll see regional parks, which they either have one specific amenity like a boat launch that you're going to drive further to, or they're a larger park that has many more amenities that you're going to go to. So this is kind of the coverage that we're getting, and so we can kind of see where we're lacking space and what we need to kind of add more to. And so that's kind of given us this is our first shot at this. Obviously, we want to then take, and I know y'all can't even see this, and I'm sorry for even putting this up here, but this is, I'll share it with you later. I'll share it with you later so you can see it, but this is a list of our inventory of what we have at each park. So we want to overlay those features onto that as well, so we can kind of see what it is that we have at each park and know where we need to start placing those items. And then just to kind of go into some performance measures we're already gathering to show you where we're deficient and where we have really more than we need. As a agency our size, I know we talked about it last time, we have twice as many ball fields as an agency our size per resident, that being baseball fields, and then softball, it's still, we have more fields than everywhere else. Pretty much anything else, though, we're very much lower than. So we have some targets, some things that we're looking at to kind of know where we need to start placing things. We've already started with with those surveys that were started back before I got here, looking at what amenities, what programming type things we want to bring into the parish. So we've started the planning process, and I don't necessarily want to take away from that, but I do agree that we need to start looking at things like park access and teaming up with transportation and drainage on how to, look at green infrastructure in parks and making them a place that can manage stormwater in addition to providing green space for parks, as we're looking at where we may acquire land and what new amenities we might be coming into. So that's just kind of letting you know where we are with that, but I definitely think we need some kind of assistance for sure in getting that, but there's quite a bit we can do in-house as well.
Thank you, Mr. King. We did have a motion by.
I have another comment, or a comment,
Sorry,
not another
okay,
comment.
go ahead, Mr. Robert.
Obviously, something like this is necessary to grow at the rate that I think Ascension Parish needs with our recreation in our parks. But something that I want to be sure, and you kind of touched on it by saying with transportation and with drainage, but I was going to point out the transportation aspect, sidewalks. I would love to see, and I almost feel like I almost need to see on this master plan, a connection of sidewalks to all of these parks some way or another, and not even to all of them. I mean, within communities, ultimately, it would be great to have it to all of them. And then within my district, we have the levee. The levee is something that is utilized, but could be utilized so much more. We put some walking trails, some sidewalks. We connect all that together, maybe even do some partnerships with some of your corporations. I know, like with some of your watches and your different apps and whatnot, they'll do walking trails and they'll have different features and whatnot. But I feel like doing that will make it more of a community, and I'd like to see that.
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic way to look at this, and a place that is definitely somewhere we will need assistance for sure. And there are some dollars to go after for that, both with community members as well as grants for sure. So
Thank you.
I totally agree.
Since we're talking about transportation, I think we looking at, thought about, myself anyway, I mentioned, if I mentioned it to Michelle about transportation, getting 2 vans, transportation for the kids and the moving around of the all-star bitty basketball players, allowing them to have a travel van. I visit Terrebonne Parish, and they do have transportation to move the kids around in terms of that. And I know we hadn't hadn't discussed it, but I would like to look into that in the near future and come and sit down and talk to you all and see what direction we need to take in order in getting that done.
Yes, sir.
But there was
I was just gonna say, maybe we can, I know we've talked about how many fleet vehicles we have in the parish, and are they all utilized? Maybe we round up, get with Jay, find some underutilized fleet vehicles and trade those in for a van. I mean, certainly something we could look into.
sound good, Darrell, Mr. Law.
Another idea, just while we're bandying about ideas, I've talked to Robin Delaney on the west side. One of our concerns is transportation for people to get to and from healthcare and things. We heard the West Side Hospital has $30 million. We may be able to get with something with them where they buy a van that during the day is used to move patients, get to and from the hospital, but then it could also be used for the teams. You know, we just 10 minutes ago executed a CEA with the libraries, which is a great thing. You know, that synergy between the two different groups, I think is beneficial for everybody in the parish. So that's something maybe we could look into.
That sounds like a winner. We did have a motion on the 8th. Motion was by Mr. Lawler,
It was by me and
by
Joe.
Mr. Joel, and a second by Mr. Darrell Wagsback. There's no objection on the motion. Motion passed. Number 9. Have a motion to adjourn?
Nope.
No.
No.
Motion.
Motion to adjourn by Travis, second by Dow. The motion to adjourn. Meeting adjourned.